Okay, now I'm ready. Welcome to Brightly You Radiant Being, the show that wildly recognizes, encourages, and invests in the radiance we all carry so you can shine your brightest. Each episode, we use our good and bad experiences, friendship, and passions to inspire thought-provoking conversation and soul-driven advice. This season, we'll travel from the fool's journey to the hero's adventure to better help you create a life worth living and step more brightly into yourself, inch by inch.
Hey, Amy.
Hey, Tracy.
Okay, so in our last episode, I was talking about how I'm tired of caves and why am I approaching another one? And then I shared some stuff, and you're like, I think you're in the cave. And we went back and forth on whether or not I was in the cave.
Yeah.
Um,
I still kind of think, because I re-listened to it, I
yeah.
think you're in the cave.
So
Sorry.
I don't listen to our show, which you kindly pointed out to me an hour ago. I'll start again, I promise. But after that, I was more like, what are caves even? Like, how do I know if I'm in a metaphorical cave
Yeah.
or not? And then when we were preparing before the show and you were trying to sketch out an outline or kind of where on this journey we are, I think you were kind of reminded we are on a journey and you don't get to know where we are yet. And I think you felt like you fell into a cave of your own.
I did feel like that. And I think that's a really good point, because that not only did I feel like I was in my own weird little cave, because
My own weird little cave.
my own weird little cave, dark and cold and lonely, because I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what this thing is. What I'm reminded of the quote, where am I going and why am I in this handbasket? But
From
from going to hell in a handbasket.
oh,
So, but that's different. That's a different cave, right? So, not then the other thing I was thinking about is, like, sometimes you don't even know you're approaching the cave. You just like trip and fall into the cave, right? So I do think it's interesting that you and I have gone back and forth. Like, are you in the cave? Are you not in the cave? Are you approaching the cave? Are you clawing out of the cave? Like, what is happening? And I think part of that just coming to me right now is that while we want to be the architects of our life, and to a certain extent we are, there are times that we don't know what the heck is going on or why it's happening or
and
what to do with it.
why I think that is such a profound statement to make at this point in like our arc of conversation this year, this season so far, is I think oftentimes like I talked about like that forest that I saw on TikTok where it was just the trees were so tall it's the blackest of black and like truly fairy tale nightmarish of like going into the woods, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes when we kind of find ourselves in the dark on things, we think we might be in the cave, right? When really just like it's night or the sun isn't shining or there's a shadow. Like we talked a lot about shadow periods. So I would kind of counter with what I was talking about last time. I feel like was maybe shadow periods, like a shadow approaching the cave, right? But that when we think of this journey we're on, the heroine's journey, the hero's journey, or whatever, actually descending into the cave is like this deepening of the journey where you're probably not going to go back and where you have to make like both an active choice, but then also become aware, oh, I'm on a journey and like I have to go through this and hope I get out on the other side. And I don't know what that looks like. And that like real transformation happens in that part of the journey, right?
Yes, you gave me chills when you were talking about the descent
The
into
descent.
the descent into that cave and real transformation. That is when it finally does happen. And it's that sort of that death rebirth process. And it's not a literal death. It doesn't have to be a literal death, but the ending of something, whether it's, something you're doing in your life or a relationship or whatever. But yeah, you never I do agree with you. At that point in the journey, you're not going back. It's sort of like that you can never go home again. And it doesn't mean you can't literally ever go home again. What it means is you will never go home again as the same person who left that home.
And it might not feel like the same home, right?
No, it's going to be much smaller and it won't fit and everything's going to be wrong about it. What I was thinking about with the last episode and then this one, and I think part of it had to do with my own, thinking I was in my own weird little cave, is I just very, I don't know. I just felt like I need to write this down. So I wrote, when last we left our heroine, she was sick to death of the GD journey. And now she has to face the supreme ordeal. No, thank you.
Thanks, no thanks. Yeah, so many times on the show, because we're Brightly and we talk about brightening up and all that kind of fun, annoying stuff. Like I have Darcy, one of our amazing listeners and a friend and an energy healer of mine, taught me when things go good in your life, it's always thank you, more please to the universe, right? And you nailed it in that like cold open to our TV show of our journey for our heroine of just like. Nope, not gonna do it.
Which is kind of what you were saying last episode. Like, no, I don't want to go forward. And then I said, well, even if you don't want to go forward, that's still your journey. Like,
and oh God, Amy, I'm that special type of narcissist that feels like the entire universe is conspiring against me right now. Just signs and symbols and just like so I feel like I've been sitting in the entrance of the cave. Nope, not gonna do it. Right? Like, but talking a big game otherwise, talking about my placement. Now how I'm this bright, shiny star in the mouth of the cave. I'm the best of all of the one person in the cave. I'm the best. I'm nailing it, right? Life is good. And a song was just released by Paramore today called Running Out of Time. And boy, did that call me out. And there was a book and a TV show and just all this stuff this week. And I think it is a whole lot of like digging my heels in and saying, I'm so grateful for what I have. I'm not going back, right? Like, thank you. Yes, more please to the universe. But you're going to have to make it happen and meet me where I'm at. I don't want to grow anymore. I'm quite comfortable here. So recently, another healer that I work with, Aketra or Empowered by Lem Tutu, we repost her on Instagram all the time. She did a healing on me or a reading for me in November. And in it, she said, you're really not going to move forward in this area. There was something as a child, either an experience you had or like a defense or something you put up. And you have to figure out what that is and go back and heal that inner child to move forward. And I was like, well, that's a bunch of BS because I feel fine. My inner child's healed. Do you know how many healers I have? Do you know how much meditating I've done? My inner child is my favorite person. She loves me. I've done therapy. We fixed her. And then it hit me in a series of different things this past few weeks. And when I was little, we had built-in bookcases in the wall that were really deep. So like oak wood paneling, just a shelf in the middle, probably 3 feet tall, like so really big. And all the kids' books were in there. And when I was little, I'd take everything out. And then I would go in there with my books, my radio, and my blankets, no flashlight even. And I loved my cave. And then in high school, when I would picture like people talk about like, what's your dream life? I would literally say, Amy, I want to live in a cave with Wi-Fi. And it's just
what in
right?
the actual.
And at the time, I would describe it as introversion and maybe a little social anxiety. But now thinking back to, I mean, one, Aketra is amazing. And two, she literally is talking to my guides. I mean, some of the things she has told me for me to be like, nope, I'm fine. Like, okay, Tracy.
Hello. Hello.
But like, it was such a protective defense mechanism because I was surrounded by people I didn't feel like cared for me at that
So
time of
your
like my
cave was your safety.
right. And in my head, I was like, I just want all my books, all my journals, my TV shows, electricity, and Wi Fi, and I'll be fine for life. And here I am now, almost 40, in my house, working from home 100% of the time, currently for health reasons and weather reasons, confined to my literal cave, right? Made
Yeah.
of wood with Wi Fi power, cable, and books. And I am so freaking unhappy, Amy. And I was like, child Tracy, 17-year-old Tracy, we have really good manifestation powers, and I know you meant well. You gotta let it go, right? Like the cave is
Yeah.
not where I want to leave the cave. So Amy, can I leave the cave? Your turn, Tag, you're it.
Well, so that's just so interesting because literally one of the first things I wrote was cave is not that bad. Like, I guess I could learn to live with the cave. Cave isn't
Patient
that
in
bad.
this cave, this right? Like
But
I'll
but
visit.
yeah, here's the thing with leaving the cave. Of course you can leave the cave, but it's exactly what you said before. First of all, some transformation has to happen. You have to face something. So you've faced it though. You've talked to the child and the 17-year-old who apparently were kind of running the show. Like, hey, this is great. We like it here.
I will
And
say I still feel set like 17-year-old Tracy, right? Like 21 years later. That is
yeah,
who I identify with, that's the version of me I feel like I stopped at personality wise.
well, I would disagree, but I understand the reasoning because I
Yeah.
think sometimes we actually don't allow our 17-year-old self to come out and play ever.
Mm.
And so sometimes maybe that's what you have to do to get
Well,
out of the cave.
I was just going to say
I don't know.
she was a mini adult. She didn't play.
No, she didn't because
She
you've told
didn't.
me about her.
Yeah,
So
she
I think
worked
you need
multiple
to,
jobs, multiple
yes,
colleges. Yeah.
you need to introduce, but you do as an adult, you do play.
Yes. So
I'm
that's
just,
really interesting. Oh my gosh, Amy. So the cave doesn't have to be like this deep, dark, depressing shadow work. It could be play.
I think I had that nowhere in my notes, but I don't see why it couldn't. Why couldn't that be it? I love that
I did a meditation yesterday morning. So I signed up for something a week ago on a weekend and didn't realize there was a meditation before it. I thought it was
Mhm.
just the class after it. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she's like, "Oh, I recorded it. I'll just send it to you." And at that time, I had done the class and I was all blissed out. And I was like, "No, I'm fine. I don't know if I need this." Right. And then how she sent it was in a way where I'd have to sit at my desk, which is not how I want to do a guided meditation. Right.
Yeah.
Um, and so I finally did it yesterday morning. And in it, Amy, like you saying this, it literally, like, I'm looking through my journal right now, but there was something about like, you need to play.
Wow.
That like play is kind of the way through.
And play doesn't necessarily have to be going out and doing things. Play can be more playful with yourself, more playful with the things you do every day, making something a game rather than a chore. Play is a lot of different things. This is going in a completely different route, and I am all for it.
I talk last episode. I'm so GD sick of shadow work.
Right.
And so
Right.
play makes sense for someone like me who spends too much time in the introspective realm. And I would imagine if you listen to this show,
Yeah.
you might be in a similar position right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've all lost that ability. We don't understand play anymore. And in fact, if we are, what I see is a lot of times adults with children sometimes even get irritated with the play or are just like, I don't know how to play. You're just going to have to play by yourself. That kind of thing. Like suddenly it's beneath you to play. Like, do you not remember how much fun it was to play, to make things up, to become a different person? I can remember one time, okay, way off topic, but you after the second child, you are kind of like, oh, I have to play GI Joes. Like playing Barbies
Well,
with my daughter was her telling me exactly what to say and exactly what to do. But
yes.
I will say that once I'm playing GI Joes or trucks or whatever with Joey, and finally I was like, what if I just did what I wanted to do with these things? So I kept having my guy just do the stupidest things, like fall off the table and he laughed so hard. And then of course wanted to play with me constantly because it was so much
It
fun.
was fun.
But I actually had fun too because I allowed myself to play.
And that's just it when it comes to like playing with children, whether you're an adult or another kid, when it's guided by someone else, that's not as fun, right? So you instead showed up how you were, and then that inspired him to show up how he was too.
Yes, yes, yes. So I also think, like, so with you with the play, I'm just wondering, like, how far you want to go with this or what you're thinking about. Like,
I'm
could
descending
you
into the play cave, Amy. Let's do this.
all in for it?
Stop. Because, you know, again, like everything in my life has been leading up to this conversation that I'm going to publish to, you know, whoever wants to hear it. I've been thinking for somebody who lives alone, I sure am very reserved with myself and what I
Do
do.
you know what I decided today? And I
What'd you
didn't do
decide
it
today?
but I decided, I said, Amy, during the day, you're at home. Why aren't you dancing? Like, why don't you dance all by yourself with music really loud for 10 minutes?
Right?
For 10 minutes, dance. What would happen if you danced every day? So I asked myself that question and then I didn't do it today. But I feel like this is sort of that nod, the fact that you brought it up. It's a nod from the universe to be like, damn right, you're going to dance every day. And I love it that you said, for someone who lives alone, I'm very reserved.
Very reserved. As though, like, I mean, my neighbors are very close. And like, even like, there's certain things that I want to do with like face masks or with like hair masks or stuff. And for some reason, I've been really rigid with a certain time schedule in case my neighbors come over because I'm friendly with them, right? Or in case they stop by or I have to, or I see them or something. And I said out loud to myself yesterday, not once in 4.5 years have they ever come over uninvited or unprompted or without a text. Not once. Not once. Why do you have this stupid, ridiculous rule that somebody else put in your head somewhere, right? Like, it's like phone calls can only, you know, I can only do this after 9 p.m. and before 9 a.m. because somebody might come over. No, they won't. They haven't. We're still technically in a pandemic. My family lives 35 minutes away. Nobody is dropping by and everybody texts, right? And so I think that's the same thing with the fun is like, I've become really reserved for some weird adult reason. And I do dance. I will dance or whatever. But it's like when you cook, why are you so task oriented when you cook? Why aren't you pretending you're on the flippin' Food Network and Guys Grocery Games and having some fun with this?
I love that so much. I
Right?
love it. That's that is like the gamifying it, right? I feel like this is something, the drudgery. Like you can make anything a game, especially if it is feeling drudgery, but also even things that you like you like to bake, you like to cook.
And so something I did last year twice, and everybody that I told that I did it thought it was the coolest thing. So I don't know why I felt so nerdy coming up with it and doing it, and why I held it so close to the vest, right?
Yeah.
But I did this thing where I would pick an album, and then my entire evening was going to be about that album, right? Yeah. So like I got Eartha Kitt on vinyl. I planned a menu around like what's Eartha Kitt, and like so that's why I told other people about it, because like one of my friends like helped me come up with my cocktail. My boss helped me come up with my menu because he's like, oh well, it has to be kind of like a steakhouse, but we're both vegetarians, so what would that look like, right? So we made like a steakhouse menu. So I dressed up like, I think I even went to a thrift store looking for stuff and then decided I had it, but like I put on a costume, essentially. I mean, they were normal clothes, but it was a costume because I was kind of dressing like that. I put on her album. I did my lighting around it. I cooked. I had my cocktail, and I just enjoyed this like 4-disc album, right? Of Eartha Kitt. And it was so much fun, but it was a lot of work, right? Like, because I had to do all the prep beforehand. I had to plan for it. I had to pick an album, all that stuff. But even the prep was fun, but it was one of those things where like for whatever reason like I couldn't do it one day or like something got in the way or this or that, and I just kind of, it wasn't a priority more. But like that's a way to make cooking fun, right? Like pick a theme night
Yes. I love that, pick a theme night.
in
One
your
day I was
cave.
looking yeah, in your cave.
Play a record in your cave. Have a menu and drink a cocktail.
I was looking at all our glasses. We've got far too many glasses for two people, and like fancy glasses and martini glasses and margarita glasses and all these different. I was like, we should do something where it's like tonight is margarita night and use the good margarita glasses and have, some Mexican food, and so do stuff like that. But I also feel like what you just talked about, that could be a whole party type of thing where it's like it's Eartha Kitt night.
Right?
Like, bring a
So
dish.
now, oh no, now I remember why I stopped doing it. It felt
Right.
lonely not to share it.
There you go.
It was
All
fun
right.
to talk to people about. It was fun to plan, but then in the
Yep.
moment to always be doing it alone. And granted, I was doing it during lockdown, I think, right?
Yeah. Yes. You
And
were.
so there was a reason why I was kind of alone, but like not even being able to find someone to virtually do it or things like that. Like I think I kind of let it go. So for me, that whole playfulness alone piece is gonna be my cave, I think, is figuring out, like you said, why aren't I dancing more? Why aren't I singing? Why aren't I being silly at home? And what would
Yeah.
that even look like to just not be so reserved while I'm here?
I think that this is such an amazing opportunity for you. And I am going to join in on it. I'm going to piggyback off of it.
I love it.
I think that for myself,
Yeah, what's your cave? Where do
well,
you
first of all, you helped me out of my own little cave. So Tracy sent me a link to a YouTube video,
she didn't
where
even watch yet.
that she didn't watch yet,
Based off a
but
TikTok.
something in her knew it would help me. And the woman was talking about something that Esther Hicks Abraham talked about as pre-paving. So with anything that you're going to be doing, the gist of it is that you write out your intention for it. So
well, so
and
the example was, why do we only bless our food? Why aren't we doing a blessing before we do anything or
yeah, she
everything?
didn't bring that up in the
That
YouTube
was the
video.
TikTok, right? So that's the kind of like
Yes.
when you think about it, like, oh, when I get ready in the morning, oh, when I log
Yeah.
into work, or oh, when I start a creative project,
Because I will
prepaid.
do it for big things. Like I used to, I took the week off, this week off of, I do a Facebook Live tarot card reading, Monday through Friday. And so I always do an intention for that because it seemed like a big thing. But I certainly don't do an intention for logging on to work. But so once I did that, I wrote out my intention for the show. Like, I am aware of the feeling I want people to have as they watch it. I'm clear, I'm in alignment, like just all these things. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I wrote. But so that helped me out of my own weird little cave. And then other things that have helped me, I thought of Hamilton. I wrote my way out. So I just recently found again my journal that it's my talking to myself journal and my higher self, where I literally use two different colors of ink. So it's me and then my higher self with a different color of ink. And I've been doing this for a very long time, but I hadn't done it for like a year. And so I picked it up again and just went, why haven't I been doing this? And it's amazing what comes out. It's literally amazing. And what got me to pick my journal back up was an article about, dang it, Edgar Bergen, who had the doll, Charlie McCarthy. And it was what is that called? It's
Ventriloquist?
yeah, he was a ventriloquist and Charlie McCarthy was his doll. His that and one day these two people walked in on Edgar talking to Charlie, and he was saying, "What's the meaning of life?" And Charlie was answering him. And he was asking him all these big, like spiritual and different kinds of questions like that. And Charlie was answering him. And then these people walked in and listened to it, but then they were like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I'm just doing this." They go, "But that's you answering." He goes, "It might be me, but Charlie has really good answers, much better than I could have come up with." And there's an actual term for it. Now I can't remember what it's called, but I thought to myself, "Oh, I do that with my
So
journal."
is it like scribing or channeling? Is that what they call it? Or is there a specific?
What they were calling it something different, because this was actually him talking to this doll. And with me, I'm not, I'm not automatic writing.
Mhm.
It's as if I am myself, and then
You're
for
tapping
whatever
into.
reason, this other self can actually answer or push back or
So
challenge me on things.
the last time I was in a cave that I recall, or a memorable cave
Yeah.
moment, was almost 5 years ago to the day, I would say. And I still have the piece of paper. But I had been doing this manifestation workshop and all these different meditations and all this stuff, and I still felt stuck and I still felt unsure, and I didn't know what my purpose was, and I didn't know what decisions to make, and I wanted someone else to tell me what to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I just kind of like picked up a pen and paper and was just like, what do I do? And then I started writing. And even though I have a lot of different handwritings, because when I was little, I wanted to have different fonts, right? So
Of
like
course you did.
I have a lot of different styles. This is not in any of those styles. And I was talking out loud, and I think I've shared this with you in a bit of an accent, right? And I think I was kind of tapped into this one guide that I kind of have that has a lot of opinions on how people today do intuitive work. um, but I remember writing and saying, "You know what to do. You know what to do." And then there was like 3 or 4 suggestions or different stuff, but I remember both being enlightened and frustrated because I didn't want to know what to do. I wanted to be told what to do. And here I was being told by this like having this amazing experience and really feeling like I was tapping into a higher self or a guide or whatever you want to believe. And the response was, "Well, you already know. You're fine. Like just figure it out, you know." And that's overwhelming to be in a cave on your own.
It is, which is why can't you ask for help when you're in a cave? Why can't you just be like, "Hey, I'm in a cave.
Right? Send the
I
Navy
need some
SEALs.
help." Yeah. Although
Reinforcements.
sometimes when you're in the cave, you're so far in the cave that you don't
So,
ask for help.
well, and I have a question for you. Have you ever been in an actual literal cave before?
When I was a child, one of our most beloved road trips was going to Crystal Cave.
I was just going to say Crystal Caves.
Yes.
So I did that experience as an adult, maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Do we need to go to Crystal Cave, Tracy?
Maybe.
Okay.
But so I went 5 or 6 years ago. I brought my nephew for his birthday. And when I tell you, I remembered everything 7-year-old Tracy experienced because they have not changed that tour. They have not changed how they present it, when they turn off the light, where the fool's gold is. That thing is identical. And why wouldn't it be? It's a cave. It's amazing. What would you change about it, right? Like, it is what it is. But there's a point in it. So there are many different points. You go downstairs, you go on all these different parts, and they have lights up like you're a miner, right? But there are some areas that are really narrow and you get a little claustrophobic. And there are other areas that are really big. And you think, kind of like that movie, The Host, oh, I could live here. Like at world ending and I got to find somewhere safe to be. I could totally grow crops here and live here. And like, this is a great open space. And then they take you around the corner and they're like, okay, we're going to put you in pitch black. Don't freak out. We're turning out the lights.
Mm-hmm.
And it's both freeing and terrifying to be in absolute pitch black.
Oh my gosh, I love it that you said that because it is both those things at the same time.
But like this entire time, like even though you're descending into the cave, it has so much up and down within that experience of claustrophobic and this is amazing and like this is grand and like fool's gold and like, oh, these things glow, these glow crystals glow in the dark and isn't this beautiful? And
That's
then
all I
like,
remember.
and
All I
then dear
remember is the
God,
glow.
don't leave me here. I want to
Right.
get out. And even on the way out, you're like, oh, this is really tight. Like, I don't know if I can do this.
Okay, I love this because so you're in this cave and there's still all these different aspects to the frickin' cave itself. And there might even be times when you're like, I think I'm out. Oh, no, I'm still in.
Tour's
Like,
almost done. No, it's not.
no, it's not.
No, it's not.
We're going to turn the lights out again.
So, I mean, let's pretend you and I figure out how to get out of the GD cave, right? Like,
Mhm.
how do you know?
Okay, awkward silence.
I
How
was
do
because
you
it has
know?
to,
I
it's
feel like I think it's one of those things where, you know how when they say a planet goes retrograde and then it stations direct, it still has that little shadow
shadow period.
period of retrograde. So I feel like even when you get out of the cave, there's still, you don't necessarily really know it until you're well away from the cave. And then you're
Well,
like, oh, hey, I actually think I'm out and I'm better for it or whatever.
and I wonder if it's kind of like a runner or a hiker's high. Like this just made me think about a
Oh.
friend of mine really wanted to go on this very specific hike that ended with these amazing waterfalls and like she wanted to do it for her birthday and it had a lot of spiritual significance for her. But she wasn't a super active person beforehand and it was a far more intensive hike than you would have thought for such a short distance. And hiking, you usually think like, oh, I can walk a mile in 20 to 24 minutes, but like in hiking, a
It's
mile could
tricky.
be 50 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And so this entire time she hated it and she hated me because I Jillian Michaeled her the whole way because I was like, you were halfway and you want the spiritual experience at the waterfall. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it. If it takes us 4 more hours, we're gonna do it. You're gonna hate it, but we're gonna do it, right? So we got her there. She hung out for like an hour, had an amazing time, but then we had to go back and it was harder on the way back because now you're tired. Like you at first, like you're all like, I have the second wind and like we're fine, but then you hate it and you think you're gonna throw up and you hate that your friend is Jillian Michaels and it's just like power of positivity in you through it and won't let you stop because that'll actually be worse. Your feet will swell, you'll have a
Mhm.
hard time getting up, you'll lose your energy. Like you gotta just power through even if it's slow, right? So we get to the parking lot and I can tell she hates me. I can tell we're no longer friends. But I was like, you hate me now. You hate your body now. You probably have shame. You probably like you're going through it. She was in the cave or whatever that is, right? Like you went through it and you hate me. And like she was gonna stay up north and I was driving home. I had something else I had to do. And it's like, you're gonna feel amazing in like 40 minutes to an hour. And like she looked like she was having a heart attack and thinking she was gonna go to urgent care. And I was like, nope, you're fine. Like, trust me. Sure enough, I get a text about 40 minutes later. She had the most amazing hiker's high that she felt the best she had had in years. She felt this euphoria. Her body felt better. And then she had the best night's sleep of her life that night.
Wow.
So relaxed and so amazing. And so I wonder if it's one of those things where when you first get out of it, you're exhausted and maybe you don't know you're not in it anymore, right? Or you're just like laying on the ground thinking you're going to die. And then maybe a few days, weeks, months later or whatever, you're like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah. Cause I think, and I'm sure it's probably different for each time you go into a new cave, right? For whatever
And
reasons.
how
Cause
many caves are there in a world in a lifetime? Jesus. Like, was this
I
a
know
Taliban? Like,
it feels like some people like, are you ever going in a cave? Like,
right.
what is
Or like
your
me, like my child's up, get out of the cave. It has been 21 years. And
So
as Haley Williams of Paramore says, we are running out of time. Go listen to that song. It was great.
I will absolutely. I think back to the cave of my overspending and debting, and finally getting out of that cave. Yes, I got out of the cave and stopped doing that. I stopped doing the things that got me in the cave, but then it was like I was in a different cave, because then I had to actually face myself with why I did it and not doing it, and how I had to do different
Or are we
things.
just tunneling and burrowing between caves? Is that our problem?
We're just little moles.
We need to like groundhog up. Like let's put some divots in the yard already. Like I want to go home.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, it took years before I felt completely out of it, because it took until we finally paid off the house.
Yeah.
And then I finally felt out of it. And now I finally have my own bank account again. So it's literal years for me. But
So what you're saying is we can be in multiple caves at a time because we're astral projecting and we're that good at transformation.
we are that good. And we're gonna, but I'm still, I feel like the thing that I want everybody just to kind of take away from this is that play factor, that it doesn't all have to be the heavy, hard shadow work, that maybe it is more play, that maybe you just freaking need more play. And even just trying to face yourself and who you are and what you should be doing, that can be playful too.
So I once did this Kundalini take-home workshop that had like a Facebook social connection component. And I was having the best time. I was feeling so good every time I did it. So I went to log in to just like chit chat. Hey, this is so great. Every single person in it was having the worst time of their life. They were feeling it. And so I didn't share what I was going through. Instead, I private DM'd the coach and was like, what's going on? And she's like, Tracy, they don't let themselves feel sad in life. You don't let yourself feel happy. So of course, this Kundalini awakening for you is going to be experiencing happiness. And so again, if you listen to this show, you might be a little introspective yourself. And do you let yourself feel happiness? Do you let yourself feel play? That might be your shadow work. That's your shadow.
Yeah. And that's a brilliant opportunity. I love that. And I'm going to take that forward.
Well, if you love it too, please share it with a friend. And if you have time, give us some love on your preferred platform with a rate, review, and subscribe. You can also reach out to us on Instagram and YouTube under The Brightly Podcast, or via email at brightlypodcast@gmail.com.
And with that, we hope you have a bright and beautiful, playful day
In your cave.
Bye.
Bye.